Good evening. Welcome to the January 7th, 2021 Safety Commission meeting at New Ulm, Minnesota. Thank you all for coming this evening. Our first order of business is membership and introductions of the commission for the year 2021. If you'd all be so kind as to introduce yourself and maybe a short promotional blurb on yourself. Amanda, would you be willing to start?
Sure. My name is Amanda Grebner, and I've been on, I don't even know how long I've been on the Safety Commission. I think this is in my second term, so over 3 years. And I've been in New Ulm. We moved back here about 10 years ago. My husband's from here, so I wanted to be a part of our local government. So I joined a commission.
2016.
Thank you.
Angie Foster. I've been on the, I think we joined at the same time, right, Amanda?
17.
17? Okay, I'm a year later. Born and raised in New Ulm and just have an interest of, keeping to be involved.
Thank you. I'm Bill Aufderheide. Been a lifelong New Ulmite and like to serve in various functions and help out wherever I'm needed. So I'm on the Safety Commission at this point.
My name is Bob Milkey. I'm another lifelong resident of New Ulm. I think I moved here in '67. I've been on a commission now for 4 years. And I guess I'm proud of one thing. I put in 30 years with the U.S. Army.
I'm Robert Beck, and this is my completing my first year, going into the second year being on the commission. And I've lived in New Ulm 41 years, most of my adult life, and just wanted to be part of the community and be involved in something.
I'm Bill Scar. I moved to New Ulm last July from Shakopee, Minnesota, to take a teaching position here. When in Shakopee, I served on the Parks and Recreation Board. I really enjoyed being civically involved, and I think it's important. So when I heard about this opportunity, I jumped on it.
Well, thank you, everyone, for being here this evening, and thank you for your service. It takes people to run the city and to make it into what we want it to be. So thank you for your efforts. We do have 2 positions available remaining on the board, and on the commission. If anyone is interested, I would encourage you to talk to myself, or more appropriately, probably Joe Stadheim, our city engineer. So, moving on, item 1.2, purpose and duties of the Safety Commission. Is there anyone that has any questions on the duties? Joe, I don't know if we need to review these at all.
Not necessarily, but I can just run through, since we do have a new member with us this evening. Our primary goal here on the Safety Commission is to consider traffic and pedestrian type related safety issues that come before us. When we receive concerns, emails, and things of that nature, they generally will bring them to the commission if it warrants discussion. In order to make our community safe for all users. And that includes pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorized vehicles. I guess generally, if there's, at any time, if there's ever any questions by any of the commissioners, I'm always available by email or phone, and you can always swing by the office too. So kind of take each item as they come and go from that, I guess. So.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Our scheduled meetings are 5 p.m. on the first Thursday of the month in the City Council chambers. Is there any discussion? Is there any concerns with that time or any changes we need to make? Okay, that seems to be amenable to everyone. Our quorum right now, we have 6 members, so there will be 7.
We'll have 7 as of this third week in January.
Okay.
We're getting there.
We're getting there, so thank you, Joe. Our quorum is 4, so we have a quorum this evening. We do need to have an election of officers for this evening. We need a president, a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary. The vice chair was Larry Hunstead. His term has expired, and the secretary was Don Hellengrun. and his term has expired. So if anybody would like to be the chair, you're more than welcome to do that. If you want me to continue, I will, but it's not.
I'd like for you to continue being the chair.
I'll second that.
You've done a great job, and
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, motion has been made and seconded, I'm assuming,
I second that.
all right, to,
Yep, can we call for nominations 3 times?
oh, sure.
please, To be
We're
official?
gonna make Mr. Roberts happy, okay. Are there any other nominations? Do we need to do each position separately, I believe?
Yes, that'd be my preference,
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Are there any other nominations for president, or chair, excuse me? Any other nominations for chair? And third time, any nominations for chair?
And we'd need a motion for a unanimous ballot.
Okay? Someone needs to make that motion?
I make a motion, we accept Mr. Alfahey as that chair.
Motion is seconded, okay. Then if they did cast a unanimous ballot, then that doesn't need voting.
Just signify by saying aye.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Oh, wait.
I have to call roll.
Oh, okay, all right. All right. The second position is vice chair, yes.
How do you turn it? Joel?
Should be a button on
My
the,
thing went blank.
should be a button on the side.
Oh, there's that button. Oh. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I didn't see that.
His iPad went to sleep.
I fiddle with mine too much, it stays open.
So the second position is for vice chair. Are there any nominations for vice chair? We need somebody. We have to have it by our rules. There any nominations for vice chair?
I think Bob would do a good job.
I'll nominate, yeah. Nominate Bob.
Bob Beck, sorry.
really.
Okay,
So what does the vice chair have to do?
it's really a pretty,
Just filling in case Mr. Alfahey is unavailable for a meeting.
Oh, okay. I guess I could do that.
okay, thank you for your acceptance. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? And third time, any nominations for vice chair? Okay, nominations are closed.
Need a motion for a unanimous ballot?
I'll
Okay,
make a motion for a unanimous ballot.
A second then?
motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Beck. Appreciate your service.
Thank you.
And the third item is for a secretary position. This position involves just taking notes.
And working with Roberta, yep.
Yep. Work with Roberta to set the agenda.
Well, not even necessarily setting the agenda,
Okay.
just getting the minutes to her. And
Okay.
Yep.
Very fine. Are there any other questions regarding the secretary position? Okay. Are there any nominations for secretary?
I'll nominate Amanda.
I knew you were gonna do that.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I suppose as long as I learn how to take notes correctly for commissions.
I'm confident you'll be able to.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a special way you like it done or needs to be done officially.
I think it could be just an email and Roberta can copy and paste it for all that.
Okay.
But we can meet with Roberta and go through that
Okay.
if you have questions.
Sounds good.
All
I'll
right.
accept then.
Thank you very much. Are there any other nominations for secretary? And a third time, any nominations for secretary? Hearing none, nominations are closed. I take a motion for a unanimous ballot.
I motion for a unanimous ballot.
Thank you. Need a second? Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody, for your efforts and your consideration.
Oh, do I need to start now, I guess?
Advantage is it'll be on YouTube, so if you don't feel like doing it during the meeting, you can always do
Oh, sure.
it off of that, which, when I've had to fill in, that's, most of the time when I write, I can't read what I'm writing anyway,
Sure.
so.
I did not come prepared.
Sure.
Okay?
But I'm also taking some notes so we can work
Okay.
together on this first round. so-
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. All right, so the business of annual organization is complete. Moving on to secretary's report. Again, Amanda has just jumped into the fire, so we won't expect her. Are there any questions on the minutes from the November 5th meeting?
Mr. Chair, all we would need is a motion and second to
Okay.
adopt the minutes as presented, unless there's changes.
If there's no questions, then we just need an motion for the acceptance of minutes.
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
I second it.
Motion is made and second to accept minutes as printed. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Old business, safe routes to school, suggestions for sidewalk. We visited this on November 5th. Mr. Stadheim.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and commission members. At the last meeting, discussion was brought up about the sidewalk listing, and at that time, we chose to take no action other than taking that listing to the Safe Routes to School team to see if they had any input in that listing. I received that listing back from Cindy Winters, representing the Safe Routes to School team, and their recommendation was to move Jefferson Street between 16th North and Highway 14 up on that list. It's highlighted in yellow in your packet. The one comment I have on this segment is there is sidewalk on the east side up to between 16th North and 19th North. So I'm not sure with that information how that's going to affect your ranking or whatnot, or if you want to keep it where it's at, that's certainly fine. But just wanted you to be aware that there is 3 blocks with sidewalk in that area. So be up for discussion what the commission wants to do. You can adopt it as presented, move things around, move other segments around. So, and then along with that, I did have another request from a city councilor that this is revisited and to consider one additional time if you wanted to make any recommendations on segments being ordered in, and take that to the city council. So if it's all right with you, Mr. Chair, I would just suggest we open this for discussion, kind of an open forum, and I'll take some notes and provide input if needed.
I think that's a great idea. Any discussion on the sidewalk list?
I'm on the Safe Routes to School committee, but unfortunately I had to miss this meeting where they discussed this. So I'm not sure why they highlighted the Jefferson Street. Did you say that there is sidewalks on at least one side for most of it?
Yep, for most of it,
Okay.
there, for 3 of the 4 blocks. Just in the email from Cindy was the kind of a direct route to Washington Elementary campus, and
Sure.
with that being a shuttle site for busing.
Right.
But on the west side of that segment, there's larger lots. There's less homes on that west side, and it leads to the county highway department office. And I'm not sure if there is the foot traffic, you know, maybe that goes up to the Cashwise area for that neighborhood, possibly. But that was their reasoning, is the proximity of Washington Learning Center.
Sure. I've heard some more information about the 15th, Highway 15 Broadway Cottonwood. And it's my understanding that that was requested by the local citizens in that area, because is there a daycare that walks to a park often? That's what I thought I read in
I'm
the
not sure if there
paper.
is or not. But
Yeah, okay. Then I don't want to say
So that'd be
something
a-
that's not true, but
The only
that's what I
daycare I
thought
know
I
up in
read.
that neighborhood, that'd be a pretty long jaunt, so I don't know
Okay.
if they walk that, but if they do, those kids are getting a nice workout.
I just seem to remember that they were asking for a park in that neighborhood for that reason, but,
Yeah. And I think that is just because they can't necessarily walk to a park because of the distance from
Right.
from that neighborhood up in Dakota West.
right, okay.
Not necessarily that, I mean, the sidewalk may play a role in that, but I think the distance is more of a
Sure,
determining factor. But
sure.
And that was the one segment that I did have a counselor request was discussed at the last meeting. So.
I did drive Jefferson Street, and I did see where there's, sidewalk is lacking for that last block, but I don't know how really busy that road is. They just would have to cross the street to get on the, over to the sidewalk going up to Cashwise. But, if we completed, if they really wanted to complete the sidewalk, just maybe that one block from,
Yeah.
what is it, is that 20th then? Would it be considered 20th? From
Just be
19th
Highway
to
14.
20th? Yeah, Highway 14.
Highway 14 to
Yeah.
19th North, yep.
But really, I don't know how busy that is. I can't imagine there's too many students walking from the cemetery across. Or, there's really not a lot of students that would live to the south of that block. I'm not sure.
There's an apartment building on,
Yep, right there on the,
There-
yeah, that's right, because I remember this fall, we walked a lot of, my wife and I walked a lot of town, and I made mental notes of, I was surprised that there weren't sidewalks there, because we were walking on the street, and had a little surprise. I mean, the traffic wasn't bad or anything, but,
Right.
given the apartment building there and some of those, I was just surprised that wasn't completed yet.
Is the apartment building located on the side with the sidewalk most of the way?
Yes.
yes.
Then I would recommend, completing that section, to give access to the, if you noticed it when you were walking, that's.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple others on here too, I
Sure.
would mention, but, they're not that critical, I don't think, but.
I guess what I meant is that completing that one block is probably more important than doing both sides,
Yeah, I would agree. Do we make a motion to agree with the Safe Routes to School recommendation to bump this up? Is that what they were suggesting?
That was the suggestion from the Safe Routes to School team, is to kind of adopt the revised listing, and I'll make that change about the uncompleted both sides. But, yeah, if that's what the commission chooses to do, we can certainly revise that listing and present it, or adopt it as presented.
So do you have any wishes on any of these events, any of these items? Without a motion, we cannot move forward, so if there is no more interest, we will just move on. Okay, I would guess that the discussion has died, and we'll move on to the next business item.
Just so I'm clear, we don't want to revise as presented, or we, Okay.
No one's made a motion to
Okay.
that, so. Okay,
Well, I guess I'm sorry, so is the highlighted where it was originally and they want it moved higher? Or is this where the Safe Routes to School recommends it be?
that's where Safe Route School recommends it being.
Where was it before?
But let me, I was.
Sure. Nope,
sorry.
that's
I'm just
okay.
looking at the old listing here.
That's
No,
okay.
it's in the same spot, so I think their ask was to maybe
Move it a
re-rank that, I
little
guess. but-
higher.
Yep. But, yeah, so they have it noted as switching it to 3 instead of 5 on the priority list.
I guess to me, if they've studied it and they know it better, then I would trust their opinion. So I motion to adopt their recommendations.
I would second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and then the last tail end of that, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, do you have any wishes to order anything or recommend the ordering in of any segments at this time, or table that for a future time?
I guess the question to us then is, does anybody have a strong feeling to order any of these items to, or recommend we order these in to the city council? We should say so.
I'm fine with the list so
Okay.
far as it is.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Good enough, thank you.
thank you, everybody. Moving on to the new business, is there any more old business discussion before we move on?
Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. New business, Mr. City Engineer.
All right, let me see if I can get this one pulled up. Item before you today is, been working with Safe Routes to School team, and this might have even been identified in the walk report that was done. I think we're getting close to, what was that, 10 years ago maybe already, Bob?
Well, yeah, it's been a while.
At least,
yeah.
maybe a little bit more than that. So as part of that, the Safe Routes to School team has identified the need for an additional pedestrian crossing on State Highway 15/68. We have that stretch between Center Street and 10 South Street where we only have the 2 signals at those locations. They identified 4 South Street as being a optimal place for an additional safe crossing location. 4 South was picked because of the through route to the middle school and public elementary school and St. Paul's campus. So after much discussion with MnDOT, much, I mean years worth of discussion with MnDOT, they granted conditional approval of a crossing such as what's presented today. They would permit a crossing on one side or the other of Highway 15. When they drew it up, I picked the north side, mostly because the kids that will be going down there will probably be heading north after they cross anyway. No real reason. That's just kind of where I started drawing the lines. Along with that, there'd be a number of pedestrian crossing signage. They're regular signs. They're not RFBs or enhanced signage or anything like that. And the signage that was chosen is shown on the next attachments. The R16A sign is a stop for pedestrians within the crosswalk. And then our standard pedestrian crossing signs with the arrow and a head that would be placed at intervals prior to the intersection and then at the crossing. In addition to the striped crosswalk, we would also stripe stop bars to help with trying to get motorists to stop where appropriate at the crossing when there's kids present, or kids or any pedestrians present. I would propose the markings be ground in epoxy markings. Regular latex at this location, on our city streets, we have to do it once a year. We're talking many more vehicles per day on the state highway, and I think the latex would last maybe a month with the amount of traffic that's out there. So the ground in epoxy, we might get an increased life of approximately 3 years is what our guidance documents and studies have shown. So that's what MnDOT is okay with. Eventually, if we keep hunting down funding, this would be an ideal location for a hawk system, which is kind of a half of a traffic signal where it's pedestrian activated, but it has full red-green lighting that would stop the traffic on Highway 14. And those run anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000. So in the meantime, until we can identify some funding for that type of system, MnDOT has approved going with a reduced cost scenario such as what we have presented today. And I estimate this around $10,000 with signs and the markings. May seem like a lot, but getting a contractor to mold in for this small amount of work would be costly, and that ground-in epoxy paint is not cheap, as it is, let alone coming in for a few hundred feet. So, I think that's a synopsis of the history on it and the request today. So. And funding hasn't necessarily been identified for this, but there's grant opportunities and things of that nature to get this installed during the summer of 2021 possibly.
Thank you. Any discussion, further questions?
Is this a project that MnDOT would maintain, or is this going to be a city?
It'd be city maintained.
Maintain this,
Yep.
okay.
Have we done any type of a study as to how much traffic is generated there?
As far as pedestrian counts, we don't have any firm numbers just because it's, counting pedestrians is labor intensive and requires somebody to sit out there. The Safe Routes team, there is a number of children that live on that east side of Highway 15, kind of in that Minnesota German Street neighborhood, in that 10-block segment. So the hope is with building something that people feel safer to use, then that will increase that pedestrian number.
I'm not against it, but I'm just saying that I drive that section quite a bit of the time, and I guess I haven't ever seen where there was really a problem, but is it primarily for the children or for?
I think primarily that's the Safe Routes schools, Safe Routes to School teams. Driving factor is is the kids, but I really think other users will benefit from this too if they feel safe enough to use it with the enhancements. But I guess time would tell at this, it's kind of a guess at this point.
Yes, Chief.
Mr. Chair, I'm Dave Worker, I'm the Chief of Police for the City of New Ulm. And just to address, Mr. Chair, I'm Dave Worker, I'm the Chief of Police for the City of New Ulm. And to address Commissioner Milky's question or comment, I'm familiar with that area. Actually, my house is right on there. I live at 405 South Broadway. So I happen to be very familiar with that area, and I just know, just as a police officer, I know in general, Broadway is pretty challenging to cross. And I'm familiar with that area because I live next to it, and I've had it myself where I walk to work, and literally, if I walk to work like this in more like civilian attire, have pretty challenging to cross, in the morning, especially with the heavier traffic. If I wear a uniform, it seems like they see me. And they're almost like stopping and saluting when I cross the street. So, I mean, it seems like you can always make that argument. Do people see them, or are they just in a hurry? I know sometimes they have a difficult time. I've gotten this feedback from a lot of individuals that they say they're scared to stop for a pedestrian on Broadway because they're afraid of the other lane. The individual crosses the street and the other lane comes across, and all of a sudden they have, some type of a serious incident there. So I personally think it's important that we have, a couple more options on Broadway, because it's, the traffic count. What is the traffic count, engineers? It's extremely heavy.
Into 20,000.
Per day, because I've checked it before right off the top of my head. I don't have it off the top of my head, but it's pretty heavy in that area. It's pretty challenging to cross. Again, when individuals, anybody that basically lives on, it'd be on the east side of Broadway there, it's, I've seen that when kids are walking home, it's pretty challenging, and, they get to the median, and then it's, sometimes they're walking with older siblings or something like that, or at least that's the appearance, but it's a challenging area. I think that's across the board, and how they picked 4 South, that I don't know specifically. I think it's, you know, Engineer Stadheim touched on it. It's the location with the schools and things, but Broadway is a very difficult intersection to cross. So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Borchert.
It's, we agreed as I can't remember what month it was, to approve the rapid flashing beacon, correct? We moved it on to the city council, that we recommended that they apply for that.
We've applied for grants in the past, but we haven't gotten anything.
Right, and so, and then the city council accepted that, correct? They thought that that was a,
Yeah, I believe, you're testing my memory, but yeah, I think let's just say the city council, I believe, would be on board with
Yeah.
something of that
Well-
nature. It's just coming, finding the funds for it, so.
right, so, but they accepted that there is a crossing need right here,
Right.
and our
And-
preference would be one of those rapid flashing
Yeah, and
beacons.
the thing, would need to be a Hawk system instead of the rapid.
Okay,
Which happens to be the much more expensive
Sure.
solution, but that is because of the 6 lanes of traffic
Sure.
as opposed to a 2-lane road.
so if we've in the past indicated that this crossing deserves something, and we're just waiting on funding for the more expensive option, then I think doing this in the meantime is appropriate.
Traffic counts are 18,000 vehicles per day. I just checked.
Wow, that's a bunch. Okay, any further discussion?
So I would make a motion to consider a recommendation of the pedestrian crossing enhancements and approve that to move on to the city council.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to move this forward to the city council. Are there any further discussions?
So we're basically just talking the crosswalk. We're not talking any flashing lights or semaphore or anything. Just, right now, it's just the basic crossing. Is that correct?
Basic crossing with some signage
With the signage.
and advanced signage, correct.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That ends our business for the evening unless there are any other items that need to be discussed.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Grebner, did you want to touch on detail within
Oh.
the agenda items?
Yeah, I asked Mr. Stadheim in an email about perhaps when we get our agenda packet, perhaps including a little bit more background information about the items that we have, maybe you use the acronym for what the city council gets, and I can't remember what it
Yeah,
is.
the RCA forms or request for council action forms.
Request for council action forms. It just has a little bit more information about who requested it, a little bit of background. And I just think that's that's helpful. And plus, it would be more consistent between, my preference would be all commissions would use it and, just to maintain consistency. But we can only be in charge of us. I know it would add a little bit more work to Mr. Stadheim, but,
We should be able to figure that out.
yeah,
so.
we don't meet, sometimes we don't meet monthly,
Yeah, it's
so,
more work for Roberta, but I'm sure she'll figure it out.
sure. But it would just help us come more prepared to meetings, I think.
Within the software that puts these agendas together, I'm not sure how much customization there is.
Okay.
But what we could do is something and make it an attachment instead of
Sure.
what how it's presented within the packet. But we'll figure out a way to do it.
So,
And sometimes we just get an email and that's all the info we have. but
Sure.
That way we can try to be as in-depth as possible. Like with this crossing, it has an extensive history and things like that.
right,
So, yeah.
so a little bit of
Yeah,
background
well, we
ahead
can-
of time is.
We can try to do that, yep.
Okay.
But I said I would bring that up and if the commission agreed, I would go along with whatever the commission.
More information is better.
Anyone else have feelings on that?
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Don't need official action. We
Okay,
can just,
that's
something
fine.
staff can do. So.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea, because then I won't have to bother you. Okay. Thank you for that idea, Amanda. Hearing no further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second that?
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Commissioners.